Right now, on to the point. President Trump addressing the nation on the war with Iran.
We're now totally independent of the Middle East, and yet we are there to help.
The Supreme Court takes up birthright citizenship with the president in attendance. Those against his order making their voices heard.
I hope that he was schooled in the importance of birthright citizenship.
Despite storms today, the final snowpack survey showing bad signs for California's water supply.
The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon.
10 days, 685,000 miles, and a powerful liftoff. NASA's Artemis II mission is officially underway. Just a couple moments ago, President Donald Trump just finished addressing the nation, giving updates on the Iran war as it continues into its fifth week. Thank you for joining us. I'm Alex Bell. This was the president's first primetime speech since launching the strikes with Israel at the end of February, making his case to the American people about the war in Iran. Now, he acknowledged the impact here at home, saying Americans are already feeling it at the gas pump, but still he was doubling down on the strategy, making it clear that the U.S. intends to stay engaged, calling the effort an investment in the country's long-term security and future. The president says U.S. military action in Iran is expected to ramp up. Take a listen.
I've made clear from the beginning of Operation Epic Fury that we will continue until our objectives are fully achieved. Thanks to the progress we've made, I can say tonight that we are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly. We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks.
And we are going through more of President Trump's address tonight. And we'll have much more coming up tonight on Late News Tonight at 11. But the fate of birthright citizenship is now in the hands of the Supreme Court. Another big story today. Justices today heard oral arguments in the case. It stems from a challenge to Trump's executive order signed on Inauguration Day, January 2025. The administration wants to end birthright citizenship for the children of non-citizens, arguing the policy has been taken advantage of by undocumented immigrants. In a first for a president sitting, Trump made an appearance at the court today. He left during plaintiff arguments made by the ACLU, who laid out what's potentially at stake.
Thousands of American babies will immediately lose their citizenship. And if you credit the government's theory, the citizenship of millions of Americans, past, present, and future, could be called into question.
Again, it was the first time for a sitting president to attend this. After he left the court, President Trump claimed the U.S. is the only country in the world, quote, stupid enough to allow birthright citizenship. This is not true. According to Citizens International, at least 30 other countries allow it, including Canada, Mexico, Brazil, and Argentina. ABC 10's Becca Habegger joins us in studio. And Becca, you actually spoke with a local legal expert about her take on today's hearing, right?
Yeah, that's right, Alex. The McGeorge School of Law professor tells me she's always hesitant to draw strong conclusions from the questions the justices ask, saying they asked tough questions of both sides today. But she said there's a lot of legal precedent for upholding birthright citizenship as we know it.
This was the scene Wednesday morning outside the U.S. Supreme Court. Demonstrators in favor of and opposed to birthright citizenship as established in the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, which says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States.
It says if you're born in the United States, you're a citizen.
Leslie Gilo-Jacobs is the Anthony Kennedy Professor of Law at University of the Pacific's McGeorge School of Law. She says the 14th Amendment came after the Civil War to ensure formerly enslaved Black people were granted citizenship. But in the more than 150 years since then, courts have applied it in contexts beyond freed slaves. However, on the same day he was sworn in for his second term, President Trump issued this executive order, saying citizenship will no longer be granted to babies born to mothers who are here unlawfully or on a temporary visa. It never took effect as federal courts blocked it and legal challenges led it here. Professor Jacobs says Trump's argument hinges on the phrase "and subject to the jurisdiction thereof." Here's the U.S. Solicitor General arguing the government's position before the justices Wednesday. Only audio recording is allowed of Supreme Court hearings.
In 1884, this court recognized that subject to the jurisdiction means owing direct and immediate allegiance. The clause thus does not extend citizenship to the children of temporary visa holders or illegal aliens. Unlike the newly freed slaves, those visitors lack direct and immediate allegiance to the United States.
Professor Jacobs says that's never been how courts have interpreted it.
Subject to the jurisdiction has very few exceptions, and it means you're not subject to the jurisdiction if, in fact, you are loyal to a different government. And so the best example of that is diplomats who are here. They get diplomatic immunity. They're in their embassies. It's not part of our government.
She pointed out Congress passed a law in 1952 reaffirming birthright citizenship. So in order to overturn the policy,
the court would have to find that the president could override not only the words of the Constitution, but also the words that Congress wrote in at a time when Congress would have known that the courts and the government were interpreting those words subject to the jurisdiction as meaning this broad concept of birthright citizenship.
California Democratic Senator Alex Padilla was among those rallying outside the U.S. Supreme Court, criticizing the president's executive order.
He wants to be able to pick who gets to be un-American and who doesn't. It's wrong, it's un-American, and it's dangerous.
Justices are expected to issue a ruling in this case before the court's term ends in late June. We'll, of course, keep you posted. Alex?
All right, Becca, thank you. Criticism is growing tonight following President Donald Trump's executive order yesterday seeking to limit mail-in voting with a national voter registry. ABC 10 State Matters political reporter Jenny Huh dives into the debate and California's promise to push back in court.
The order has drawn criticism as opponents worry restricting vote by mail could suppress voters, and opponents argue this is part of Trump's efforts to nationalize elections ahead of the midterms to sway election results and retain control of Congress.
If you limit mail-in ballots, you're going to limit access to voting. Does the president want to limit access by this? Yes, he probably does.
Not even a day after President Trump signed an executive order to limit voting by mail for federal elections,
That's a big deal.
he's receiving strong pushback.
Oh my God, again? You know, we've had this before.
But the president doesn't have the authority to do this.
It is a federal overreach dressed up as election integrity.
Governor Gavin Newsom was also quick to condemn the action, writing on X, quote, "We're challenging it, see you in court." Though the president said this after signing the order.
I don't see how they can challenge it. And remember, it's about voter integrity. We want to have honest voting.
Are you aware of any registered voters here in California who should not be registered?
I'm not aware of any of them.
The president suggests more must be done to enhance the integrity of mail-in voting. Since the pandemic, California has sent mail-in ballots to every registered voter.
And so we are basically a vote-by-mail state.
Because voting is already so difficult. If you're required to show up, take off work, do the various different things, why not allow different ways for people to vote?
The executive order would require federal agencies, including Social Security and Homeland Security, to work with each state to update and maintain a nationwide list of verified eligible voters. California's requirements to vote are be a U.S. citizen and California resident, 18 years or older on election day, mentally competent to vote, and not serving time for a felony.
So it's not like somebody can just pick up a ballot and toss it in.
The order would also require the United States Postal Service to keep a list of voters allowed to use mail-in ballots and assign unique identifiers like barcodes to each ballot. All these additional requirements, a time-consuming burden, experts say.
I mean, the Postal Service is busy enough as it is. Giant federal databases are not magically foolproof.
And so to have a different rule for federal elections than for state elections would be very difficult to implement.
A spokesperson for USPS says they're reviewing the order. Meantime, just last week, President Trump voted by mail in a Florida special election.
Because I'm president of the United States, decided that I was going to vote by mail-in ballot because I couldn't be there.
Jenny Huh, ABC 10.
Well, the snow survey is in, and it is not great news. What today's measurement says about the state's snowpack. And after more than 50 years, America sends astronauts to the moon, a mission that could pave the path to a lunar base and beyond.
Talking about weather, though, the only reason there was any snow on the ground today is because we've had snow over the last 24 hours, but things are starting to wind down, and we're back in the 80s this weekend. I've got to look at the forecast after the break.
But first, another headlines tonight. Republican congressional leaders say they have a plan to reopen the Department of Homeland Security and pursue a second Trump mega bill that would secure extra immigration funding. It's not clear, though, how long it will take to restore funding since the plan is not close to landing on the president's desk. DNA testing has linked a Utah teenager's 1974 death to serial killer Ted Bundy. The Utah Sheriff's Office says Laura Ann Amy went missing Halloween night 51 years ago after she left a party alone. Her body was found a month later on the side of a highway. Investigators long suspected Bundy was responsible. The case remained open until they could be certain. And the CDC is temporarily pausing testing for some viruses, including for rabies and the viruses that include smallpox and mpox. The New York Times is reporting widespread layoffs and resignations have severely impacted the number of qualified scientists who can run the tests. Health and Human Services says the CDC will help public health agencies get the testing they need.
The fourth snow survey of the season today showed, not surprisingly, no measurable snow. The Department of Water Resources said the record hot, dry March wiped out California's snowpack. Statewide, the snowpack is now just 18% of the average for this date. Today's results are the second lowest April measurement on record for Phillips Station. But snow still fell today, and heavy rain was spotted in the valley. This is what it looked like up in Lodi, as you can see. Not just a little trickle. It was actually Brennan raining a little hard out there. But we need it, right?
Yeah, we need it. But I mean, like I'd said yesterday, March was so hot, it melted off all of our snow, didn't bring us any rain until the final day of the month. So look, every little bit helps, but part of it is like, well, what's the point now? Because we need that snowpack now that we're entering the drier months. Losing all of it over the course of March, definitely not helpful. So yeah, historically dry snow survey today. There's some lingering showers out there. Some of this starting to pick up a little bit once again in kind of the mid elevations here between about Placerville and Pollock Pines. You see some of that banding with some of the rain. So that is going to be some moderate to heavy rainfall at times up in the high country. And then right along the high passes is where we're still seeing some snow, but it is not quite down to lake level at the moment. Here's a look at some of the cameras. Echo Summit, Donner Summit, Castle Peak. Starting to see some snow sticking to 50 once again. Not as much snow on I-80 at the moment. And then this is all rain at Pollock Pines. So pretty hard to see in the rain. That has been pretty heavy and at times just difficult to drive in. And this is how it's going to be for the next several hours. But the system is coming to an end as we go through the overnight. Not a lot of ski resorts still open, so we don't have a ton of data points for how much snow. However, we do have a few. Sugar Bowl 13 inches, Kirkwood, Palisades, Tahoe 12 inches, 4 inches at Mammoth, 2 inches at Heavenly. That was measured this morning, and obviously we've had some more snow throughout the daytime, so those are not final snowfall totals. Rainfall as of 6:30, very variable. If you saw a thunderstorm or you saw some of that heavy banded rain yesterday and today, then you had a lot more rain. If you didn't, such as Sacramento's measuring station, just 1/4 of an inch there. So again, very variable. Right now, we are seeing some wind, especially up in the high country. Sustained winds 10 to 15 in Truckee and Tahoe. But once you get up on the passes and on the crest, wind gusts are over 50 miles per hour. Temperatures in the upper 50s and low 60s at the moment. We're going to start off Thursday morning in the mid 40s with some lingering showers. Thursday afternoon, though, we're in those mid to upper 60s, drying out, sunny skies. Quick look at Futurecast here. We'll continue to see snow through the overnight, some rain in the mid elevations and just some very light lingering showers. That's at midnight. Once we get past sunrise tomorrow, everything winds down pretty quickly and we are sunny as we go into tomorrow afternoon. It's also going to be very windy through the overnight up in the high country. Wind gusts will remain over 50 miles per hour in the valley tomorrow. We'll get a north wind at about 20 to 25 miles per hour. So more seasonal temperatures tomorrow, then Friday back in the 70s and low 80s for the Easter weekend. Alex.
All right, Brendan, thank you. And our ABC 10 Weather Impact team is always here for you 24/7. If you do want to check out the latest conditions anytime, make sure you check out our live radar. Again, it's 24/7. Just scan that QR code on your screen. It has super easy instructions on how you can download the app. All right, coming up after the break, it is expensive to live here in California, but a heated governor's race forum has candidates clashing over solutions and who's to blame. And then from Sacramento to space, local tech is playing a key role in the Artemis II mission.
3, 2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff.
The Artemis II mission is now underway. The spacecraft and 4-person crew are heading to the moon after taking off from Florida's Kennedy Space Center today. And it is the first moon mission in more than 50 years. The 10-day, 685,000-mile journey will take the crew on a lunar orbit that NASA hopes will propel space exploration forward.
It's the opening act of a lot of missions to send astronauts to the moon, this time to build an enduring presence, to build the moon base and realize all its scientific and economic potential.
And NASA hopes one day to build a permanent base on the moon and potentially put humans on Mars. Now that would be really cool. And listen to this, local tech companies are also helping the Artemis II mission. Tecma from Sacramento was at the launch viewing area today at the Kennedy Space Center, and they actually specialize in precision machining, creating custom metal parts for rocket engines and spacecraft. Even the smallest mistake is not an option because, of course, astronaut safety depends on it. The company's president telling us that this is a moment her family helped build. She says her father worked on past space programs, but never got to witness a launch himself.
From the Apollo mission to all the space shuttle missions that he was involved in, he never got to see one launch. I think he would be so proud. He'd probably make some funny joke, but I know in reality, this would mean the world to him. I feel like he's watching me right now.
And Tecma is also celebrating its 69th anniversary today. Yes, the very same day of this launch. They are calling today a full circle moment, honoring the past while helping shape the future of space exploration. Well, with rent, food, and gas prices still squeezing Californians, the race for governor is increasingly being defined by who can bring affordability solutions. 6 candidates faced off during a candidate forum in Fresno today. Reporter Monica Madden has the story for us tonight.
Right or left, all candidates running to be California's next governor agree it's too expensive to live here.
This is a crisis. This is a break glass moment.
During a Fresno forum Wednesday, contenders clashed on the cause and who's to blame.
Cost of living is predominantly because of regulations and taxes.
Republicans making the case to shake up the Sacramento system.
I'm going to give your money back to you because you can spend it better than Sacramento government can.
Cut this insane, bloated, nanny state bureaucracy.
With some bipartisan agreement.
What's broken is that it's one party rule. What we need to fix is both parties working together, and that doesn't happen enough.
We have increased spending in Sacramento by 75%, and nothing's gotten 75% better.
Democrats agreeing that the state is overregulated.
We need to be focusing on whether these laws and rules are producing the desired outcome, and we need to put a pause button on changing and adding regulations until we figured out what is and is not actually working.
So if we want to act fast, the only way to do that is to declare a state of emergency. That's what I would do. By declaring a state of emergency, I can bypass some of the legislature.
Contenders sparring on how to reduce energy costs.
And I'm the only candidate who's proposed a suspension of the gas tax.
I don't want to suspend the gas tax. We're going to eliminate the gas tax.
I don't believe in a gas tax, but I do believe in a gas rebate.
We will use California natural gas to generate electricity to deliver my promise to cut your electric bills in half.
You're never going to have cheap, abundant energy when you're largely dependent on a scarce commodity like a fossil fuel.
So let's make it a balanced transition. So we are making use of the energy sources that we have as we move into those that are cleaner and more efficient.
Now, I sat down with the top 8 Democratic candidates for governor, asking them why they are running and also their priorities if they were to be elected. You can stream those interviews right now on the ABC 10 app completely for free. We are also working to sit down with the top Republican candidates as we continue our coverage of the race for California's next governor. Coming up, a look ahead at what we're working on for tomorrow. We're going to introduce you to a very busy 2-year-old who's inspiring stories for families everywhere. Tonight at 11, we are continuing to follow President Trump's address to the nation. And following the speech, we have been watching crude oil futures rise, now reaching $103 a barrel. It could mean an increase in oil prices in the near future. It's something we will be following tonight at 11. But let's talk about what we're working on for tomorrow and our Champions of Hope. We are introducing you to that busy little 2-year-old that we just showed you. She is inspiring her parents to turn ordinary family outings into unforgettable adventures. 2 2-year-old Mila, she does not sit still for long, but her parents are turning her everyday adventures into something long-lasting and a growing series of children's books. Dad writes, Mom illustrates, and they feature real-life moments from trips to Disneyland to first cruises and so much more. Their hope is really to inspire other families to take adventures and also discover the power of reading. So tomorrow on To The Point, we'll share how one little girl's adventures are becoming big family stories that you can now buy on the shelves. As always, thank you so much for watching, for always inviting us into your home. If you have something you think the team and I should be looking into, you can always reach out to our team at tothepoint@abc10.com. We always love to hear from you. A lot of good story ideas as well as just questions. So if there's anything we can answer, please feel free to reach out. And To The Point does not end here. You can always download our free ABC 10 streaming app to catch up on any news that you missed. We'll see you tomorrow.